David's Saturday AI Thoughts, Episode 8, 11th April 2026. What a day can do. Monday, a fine jewellery company in Manhattan. 11 people, a founder, and a day blocked out for AI onboarding. By end of day, 13 skills built. A brand voice evaluator that flags when copy drifts off brand. Knowledge files assembled from the company's own scattered documents. Workflow tools for specific tasks the team does every week. Not 13 ways for individuals to go faster. 13 shared standards sitting on every person's machine by Tuesday morning, ready to use in plain language from any conversation. Just 6 months ago, days like this ended differently. When stuck on the previous generation of AI tools, we left with a list of ideas that needed to be worked up. Promising directions, maybe some prototype prompts, a plan for someone to build them into something usable over the following weeks. This time, the team left with working tools. The difference is that you can now do a piece of work, then ask Claude to generalize what just happened into a reusable skill. It scaffolds the steps, asks clarifying questions, saves the result as something anyone can invoke easily. You finish a task and the task becomes a tool. Instantly. With Claude Code and a set of transcripts, you can make, test, and iterate 13 in one go. The cost of encoding how a team works into shared, reusable infrastructure just dropped from a few hours of careful work to a few minutes of casual work. The first skill we built wasn't a writer, it was a critic. The brand voice evaluator reads draft copy and flags where it differs from the founder's language. It doesn't rewrite. One person on the team had a handwritten list of approved words and phrases. 28 words to use, 3 never to. A style guide in a notebook because no system existed to use it. The AI version encoded the same instinct at a different scale, not just a word list but also the reasoning about what the brand sounds like and why. Another skill encoded how one person researches competitors before pitching journalists, a method she'd developed over years of trial and error, now available to the whole team. For 3 years, I've trained teams on AI. Sessions always produce genuine wonder, but many people reverted. I wrote about why last week. Making one person radically more productive in isolation isn't a gift to a human system. It's a threat the system corrects. That explanation was honest, but it doesn't tell you what to do instead. On Sunday, I published a framework for AI transformation that has been evolving in my work for years. It included 4 steps in sequence: individuals first, then teams, then the organization, then new products and services. I believed that when I wrote it. Monday then complicated it. The team didn't do individual training first. They started by building shared tools together. Learning happened through using those tools on real work, not before it. When someone runs a draft through the brand voice evaluator, they learn 3 things simultaneously: what the voice actually is, how AI works, and how to direct it. They aren't being trained on AI in the abstract. They're using AI inside a system built for their actual job. Steven Sinofsky, the former Microsoft executive, argued this week that most people cannot create a flowchart of their own work. They do the work fluently, but can't formalize it into steps an AI agent could follow. I've seen this again and again. The person keeping 28 words on a handwritten list could not have written a system prompt describing what she was doing or why. But she didn't need to. We did the work together, then encoded what happened. The skill captured her judgment without requiring her to articulate it in the abstract. A huge step forward. I'm realizing that teaching each person to use AI better in isolation could have made things actively worse. More content, faster, in 11 slightly different directions. Step 2, therefore, doesn't just follow Step 1, it can and perhaps should contain it. The question for leaders then isn't how many of your people have been trained on AI. It's how many of your team processes have been rebuilt with AI inside them. If the answer is 0, your training investment is producing wonder without infrastructure. Wonder fades. Infrastructure compounds. Here are 3 things worth knowing this week. Number 1. Claude Code now writes 4% of all commits on GitHub. That number doubled in 6 weeks. Anthropic's annualized revenue has surpassed $30 billion, up from $9 billion at the end of 2025. Claude Code, which didn't exist 14 months ago, is at a $2.5 billion run rate. 4% of all GitHub commits on Earth are now written by Claude Code. That number doubled in roughly 6 weeks, projected to hit 20% by December. When a single AI coding tool is responsible for 1 in 25 submissions on the world's largest code platform, the question of whether AI changes software development is settled. The question now is, what happens to the humans reviewing all that code? Number 2. Goldman Sachs puts a number on AI job destruction, a net drag of 16,000 jobs per month. Goldman Sachs published one of the first serious attempts to quantify AI's net labor market impact. AI substitution has reduced monthly US payroll growth by roughly 25,000 jobs. AI augmentation partially offsets this, adding about 9,000. Net, a loss of 16,000 jobs per month and a 0.1 percentage point increase in unemployment. The loss falls disproportionately on less experienced workers, widening the entry-level to experienced wage gap by 3.3 percentage points. But here's the weird part. AI led all cited reasons for US job cuts in March 2026 for the first time, with 15,341 in a single month, yet CFO surveys put genuine AI-driven employment impact at just 0.4%. So the same organizations that struggle to get genuine productivity gains from AI tools are apparently enthusiastic about blaming AI for headcount decisions. Number 3. Meta's token maxing leaderboard, 60 trillion tokens, Zuckerberg not in top 250. Meta is running internal leaderboards that rank all 85,000 plus employees by AI token usage. In 1 month, the company consumed 60 trillion tokens. Mark Zuckerberg didn't make the top 250. The structural problem, endless agent loops and genuine productive work look identical in the ranking, so it rewards orchestration over outcomes. 2 different people have told me how friends inside Meta are behaving, and I can tell you it's as outrageous as it sounds. Their leaderboard measures and incentivizes volume, not value. Incentivize use, sure. If you don't keep getting on your bike, you'll never get used to riding it. Incentivize at least X per day, not points for maxing. One builds a habit, the other builds a game.
3 things to try. Start with critique, not creation. The brand voice skill built for a luxury goods team was deliberately limited to diagnosis. It reads copy and flags, where it departs from 7 writing rules. It doesn't rewrite anything yet. Teams fear the proofreader far less than the replacement. Once they trust the critique, generation follows naturally. If you're building AI tools for a team, don't start with, write this for me. Start with, tell me what's wrong with this. Nobody fights the spell checker. Ask what keeps people up at night, not what they want AI to do. During AI onboarding conversations, the first question, what do you use AI for, produces a predictable list. The second, forget AI, what's harder than it should be, produces the real use cases. The first question surveys existing habits. The second surfaces unmet needs. Almost nothing appears on both lists. Run them, compare, show your team how others use AI. That alone may double the impact. An experiment with 515 startups found that simply showing half of them case studies of how other startups use AI led to 44% more usage, 1.9 times higher revenue, and 39% less capital needed. The friction isn't accessing the tools. It's discovering where AI creates value in your specific work. The researchers call it the mapping problem. The intervention was cheap, just case studies. The effect was large. If you manage a team, the most effective thing you might do this week isn't training. It's sharing 3 examples of how other teams in your industry are using AI.
What readers said. Last week's What is your organization actually for hit a nerve. The dominant thread. Readers don't disagree that organizations are human systems, but they want to know what to do about it. A partner at a professional services firm proposed a thought experiment from the philosopher Jonathan Rowson. Is your organization a machine or a living organism? Because you'd treat each very differently. A professor connected the essay to academic theory of the firm literature and suggested the real AI implementation challenge parallels lean manufacturing. And a reader in India drew a distinction that sharpened the whole argument. Capability sits in people, but capacity lives in the collective. This week, and going forward, I'm also looking at what readers who've engaged with this newsletter are posting on LinkedIn. My take on what you're all discussing. The common thread this week is judgment. Who has it, how you build it, and what happens when AI scales everything except the capacity to evaluate what it produces. Phil Leslie, Chief Technology and Innovation Officer at Cornerstone Research, a litigation consulting firm, argues that the bottleneck isn't intelligence, but skin in the game. Brett Danaher, a professor of economics and analytics at Chapman University, coined a phrase for what happens when AI polishes away the founder's own voice. Pavi Gupta, a market research leader writing the Infinity Growth Loop series, warns that the same tools making research easier are making it lazier. And Nadeem Sadek, founder and CEO of Shimmer AI, names the thing nobody wants to say out loud. If you don't push back on what AI gives you, you'll forget how to think.
That's it for David's Saturday AI Thoughts this week. This is a faithful reading of the email edition. The full written version with all the links and sources, plus 11 bits that didn't fit, full reader letters, and community reactions is at stedman.ai. Thanks for listening.